Hey there, everybody. My name's Lake, and welcome back to another episode of Shonen This Week. Now, I'm very excited to get into it. If you enjoy and you want to see me review manga chapters every single week, make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, comment your thoughts down below, because I know I'm bound to say something in this video that's going to offend at least one person. In fact, it's kind of, it's a given when you're doing a tier list. So let's start with Sakamoto Days, which is a D tier because it didn't come out, and it's probably a D tier if it did come out. Now let's talk about Chainsaw Man, which is absolutely a D tier, and in fact, I would put it below Sakamoto Days, which didn't even come out. I'm not even going to talk any further about this Chainsaw Man chapter, because it just made me very angry. That's about it. Just very... every time you think Denji's going to be better, turns out he's just Denji. Motherfucking never changes. Good riddance. Ichi the Witch. Chrono's dead. I'll put it at a B tier. I feel like Chrono dying kind of like betrays the twist last chapter. All it did is just drag it out a little bit more. And then they have like a heartfelt moment. Actually, hold on. No, I forgot how this chapter ended, because as you can see, I got a lot of chapters to read, and I read these all back to back, so my apologies if it gets a bit jumbled in my head. However, Kizashi starts crying about Chrono, and the subordinate of the world hater, whose name and identity I can't really remember, is like, oh, you're going soft, I'm gonna kill you. And then Descaris shows up and bodies him. That's how you know it's about to get good, when the best character in the entire manga is back in action. So this was an A tier Ichi the Witch chapter. It was definitely better than the one last week. It was better than the one the week before that, probably. Just a really solid chapter all around. I enjoyed it. Now, this Centuria chapter, I liked it actually. I'd put it below the Ichi one, so we now know that Julian is going to fight this flame guy, and also that the flame guy seemingly has beef with Julian because he was Arcos' rival. So they're setting up a fight, and the goal is for Julian to beat the shit out of this guy, and then they'll use his powers to heal the healing girl. Also, you get more of all the girls just fawning over Julian in this chapter because he's the GOAT. And some setup about his, selflessness that is obviously going to come back to bite him in the ass. That much is clear. And it feels like there's been way too many chapters that have been happy, so something bad is going to happen. Like 100% something bad is going to happen. It's a question of when, not a question of if. Okay. Now, this is a new one. This is Mad by Otori Yusuke. I've been reading this, but it doesn't come out enough for me to include it on this list, but I'm going to start including it anyway. I read one of the chapters this morning because a new one came out, and this one I'd put it personally above Centuria and Ichi. This is a very solid A tier. John and Alda, while Alda's taking everybody away, John is going to fight the leader of the cult now. We're about to get a very good fight. Somebody is not getting it out of this alive. Ponyo is alive. I don't know if it's pronounced Ponyo, but it's definitely not Pano. Pano. I feel like it's meant to be Spanish. It's Spanish in my mind, so I've pronounced it Ponyo. She's alive, though, which I admit I wasn't expecting it. Hopefully she can get back in the action. Maybe she'll end up saving John from the predicament he's gone and gotten himself into. I don't have much to say about it otherwise, but it was good. It was action-packed. Alda is a good guy now, and he's awesome. I love him. Also, he didn't die. Which is even better, right? It would have been very unfortunate if they introduced such a very cool character and then killed him immediately, and Bongo was left all alone. What the fuck even is Bongo? Now, we're gonna talk about Modulo. I feel like this chapter is just all right. There's a lot of substance in this one. For example, so Chihara Miyaguni, we get some more information about her. Apparently, she's like 40, but she looks 12, essentially, which really lends to the theory that she is Yuji's daughter. I gotta say, I'm personally pushing this agenda. I think she's Yuji's daughter. Maybe she's taken like her husband's name or some shit like that. Yuji didn't hurt her even when she was there, and she doesn't age. So there's evidence. There's solid evidence. There's evidence to support this. At the end of the chapter, now I'm going to put this ahead of the Centuria one. At the end of the chapter, Yuji goes to visit Panda. So it seems like a decent part of the final chapter, which is next week, confirmed final chapter next week, is going to be Yuji talking with Panda. Other than that, literally every single issue has just been resolved. The pacing is still ridiculous. Just ridiculously fast. Ridiculously terrible. I would say, right? It's just the pacing is not good. Not good at all. We could have very easily used an extra, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 extra chapters would have done it, but right now it just feels like, what the hell's going on? Everything's going at breakneck speed. You're being whooped in every which way. Dabura does come back. He kills the chieftain. He takes over the Diskunte tribe, and there's a lot of stuff that happens in this chapter, but, you know, like I said, it's only like 15 pages, but so much happens, you know? We're moving at a breakneck pace here, and with all of the threads that I feel like are still unconnected, there's just literally no way that everything is wrapped up in a satisfactory way in the finale next week. Also, it's likely that we see the finale and Megumi doesn't show up and like isn't even mentioned, which is really, really funny. He might have actually died to a grade 3 curse. But anyway, let's talk about Underdoctor, which is really mid this week. We're getting some backstory for the mute guy that's now cured. And then Haiji goes and visits his grandpa, who's like this old Chinese assassin. And they just kind of have like a heartfelt moment. It's just like, what the hell's going on, man? I don't really give a shit about any of this. To be completely honest with you, I don't know. I just don't care. I've shifted, after last week, I've shifted my opinion. I thought the first couple chapters of Underdoctor were good. Now I think it's dead. I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident it's dead. I would put this One Piece chapter at S tier. Now we're gonna go through all of these one by one. These are my 3 S tier chapters. The Kinato's Magic chapter, I actually like this one. I like this one because it made like a big subset of Twitter pretty angry. Personally, I don't care for the goings on in like a manga, you know, like I'm not somebody that freaks out and goes like, oh, you know, like, oh shit, it's got Yuri in it, like this is awesome, you know what I mean? I was like, when I'm just completely indifferent. Like I just analyze it purely on the plot development, you know? I'm like when I read the chapter last week, I was like, oh, she's kind of introduced like maybe as a lesbian, and she's into the female, I don't want to call her the female lead because she's not really the female lead, but she's into her, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. It was kind of played off as a gag initially, right? So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I'm sure this will be, you know, kind of like funny developments. But there's a lot of people on Twitter that take that very seriously, right? Very, very, very seriously. So then when a chapter like this one comes out, which feels like it's designed on an atomic level to make those people extremely angry. Like, Kinato literally turns this lady bisexual with his magic. To me, I'm just like, just looking at the situation around it and knowing how people felt about the chapter last week and how they were like, oh, this manga's got Yuri in it, so it's great. And then the next chapter that comes out is this. I'm like, dude, that is so fucking funny, man. That is so fucking funny. Like, I'm like, you can, wow. What do I even say about it? Like, me personally, like I said, I'm not offended. I don't really care for it either way, but I just find this development to be absolutely incredible in the internet sphere. That being said, the chapter wasn't that good. It was like a B tier. Just in terms of like, I feel like half of it was a gag, you know what I mean? And I feel like it's really gimmicky. And it's really gimmicky, and all the characters are kind of generic. It did have me smiling a little bit. I gotta say though, it's kind of growing on me. Like, it does have charm, and a lot of this chapter is really funny. Especially the end of the chapter where you have all the people fighting over who's gonna pick up more garbage, and I'm just like, dude, I think this was a solid chapter. I wouldn't put it in A tier. I feel like I kind of have to rearrange everything. I'm gonna put Centuria below this, and then why did I put Ichi in A again? Oh, it's because Descaris at the end. Not because of everything that comes before it. It's because Descaris shows up at the end. And I actually feel like Modulo would be above that then. And Mad is definitely above that. Kinato is probably firmly above Centuria. Because like I said, I enjoyed reading this chapter a lot. And the second I read it, I knew I was going to have even more fun when I strolled through the Twitter opinions of it, right? So just because of that, because of the whole reaction around it, and because it feels like the author has like a bloodthirst for like Yuri shippers, it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. And for you guys, I'm genuinely sorry that this happened. Like, I know what happened in the last chapter, or 2 chapters ago was important to a lot of people. I'm sorry this happened to you, but also I find it a little funny. I'm sorry. Now, let's talk about Alien Headbutt. I predicted it right. This whole chapter is just him fighting the big alien, and it's fun, right? You have his friend jumps in at the end, he gets a little character development, and they end up throwing it off the roof. I don't have much to say about this. In fact, you know, I'm probably going to move this down to A tier now that I've thought about it a little bit. It's definitely not as good as the Ichi chapter, but Alien Headbutt starting off strong. I'm feeling really confident about it. I'm feeling good about it, truth be told. Now, these are the 2 S tier chapters of the week. I told you guys I would be adding One Piece into this. So let's talk about One Piece. Okay, the new chapter is really good. We get to see Loki's full, like, dragon form. We get to see Luffy literally one-shot Summers. Unclear if he's dead. Probably not. People don't really die in One Piece. It's one of my major criticisms of this. When I do come out with the video talking about all of the arcs, you're going to hear lots of that. And I do want to come out with that soon. Soon TM. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, this chapter was good. It seems like all the Straw Hats are free. All the children have been saved. Loki one-shot Summers. Emu seems like Emu seems like it is about to crash out. So we're going to see the consequences of that next chapter. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to be joining all of you, reading One Piece weekly. I feel like I'm a true Shonen Jump fan now. But I'm trying to think of what else happens in this chapter. Other than that, it was just kind of hype. You know, the battle is finally moving into what's probably its final section, I would assume, right? We're moving towards like the later half of the Elbaf arc now. The flashback before this, probably the best flashback in the whole series, by the way. I just want to say that. I'm not going to talk too much about One Piece here, because it's going to be its own video. Now, Kagurabachi, speaking of flashbacks, oh my god, we're finally getting it. We're finally getting it. The Seitei War flashback is an actual thing, and we learn a lot in this chapter. First of all, Shiba is the Soga clan's guardian, which is very interesting with the implications of the, you know, relationship between Shiba and Soga, right? And we also know that the one who gave the Datenseki to Chihiro's dad was Shiba, and apparently he did it against what the government told him to. We're just starting off with this arc, and I gotta say, if they're gonna cover this all the way to the end, including the Sword Saint's betrayal and the fight against the Sword Saint, then that means we're gonna meet all the other bearers, and man, this arc has the potential to be an all-timer. This is already a really good starting chapter. We've learned so much about the island and its inhabitants, and I am just really, really excited that Hokozona is going head first and diving into this lore with us, and I'm going to be so hyped to read this every single week. Welcome to Kagurabachi Part 2. Anyway, yeah, I don't really have that much to say about anything else. I think that's going to be it from me. So, hey, if you enjoyed the video, you want to see me review all of these, and next I'm going to add Witch Hat Atelier into the list. That's the one that's getting added next. I haven't caught up on it yet. I'm planning on it. When I do, it'll be here. Now, like I said, you want to see this every week, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, comment down below, all that good stuff. And I'll see you next time. Ciao.